Conor McGregor came out talking about Dustin Poirier. And I have to take a fighter at his word. Even if I got a pretty good idea, he's working, he's hustling, he's marketing, I still have to take him at his word. I got to take what he said, what my interpretation of what it meant, and bring it to you guys, right? Okay. Conor very clearly wants Dustin Poirier. And that tells you a couple of things, right? Because Max Holloway just looked like a fool as recently as a week ago, thinking he's getting the Conor sweepstakes because he was the one that fought most recently, and Conor said his name on social media. And the week before that, it was somebody else, and next week, and this week, and so Conor will keep on doing that. But it does appear that Conor wants nobody but Poirier. Does it have to be that way? One, can it be that way? If Poirier becomes the champion of the world, there isn't really a scenario where any of us could believe that Conor gets to fight for a world championship. Do you throw that out? Do you say, to hell with it, this is the fight, oh, and by the way, it's the one the champ wants? Because that is a real thing that Dana does have to consider. When you're talking about the politics and the integrity of the sport and the rankings, those things matter, but to punish a champion because of his success is wrong. And this has been tested. This will not be tested between Conor and Poirier. This was tested between Izzy Adesanya versus Yoel Romero. Yoel Romero was not the number one contender. He was not the number one ranked guy, and he had lost his last fight. And Izzy told Dana, I don't want punished. I don't want to not be able to beat up guys that I want to beat up when I'm in the beating up people business because I have a level of success. That's the guy. You decide if the belt's up. I don't give a damn. That's the guy. Dana goes, I got to listen to that. That's a very fair point by Adesanya. So I bring that to you because we can't just automatically say Conor can't fight Poirier if Poirier becomes champion. It's going to take some work. There's going to have to be a story. But if it's anything in line with the one I just laid out, which is Dustin Poirier saying, hey, boss, don't punish me. I went over this guy to get to this point. I'll come back to this son of a bitch, bring him in here. If he wants to do that, I think Dana's going to have to listen. But let's say he doesn't. Let's say Dana just doesn't agree. There's plenty of other great things out there for Conor McGregor. And fighting Dustin Poirier, man, that's a tough sell. It's a tough sell. You want to bring the wife back into it. You want to bring the backstories. You want to bring the injury. You're going to move the needle for sure, but you're going to have to work. It's a tough sell. Conor couldn't beat Dustin when Conor was training his ass off. Conor got remotivated, reinvigorated, retrained, and couldn't beat Dustin. Now we're going to say, after being injured, like we don't know what Conor was doing for preparation, but we know he was doing it. Now we know he's not. Right? That's what an injury represents. He can't do anything for a period of time. So for sure, just using logic, there is no opportunity that Conor got better. There is no opportunity to believe he's going to be sharper in this one than he was in the last one. Conor was doing rehab while Dustin Poirier was training for a world title fight. Just basic logic tells us Dustin is going to smoke him. Do we even need to see that? Does Conor need to put himself in that position? And if so, why? Why would he need to do that? Why can Conor not be reasonable? Why can Conor not say, this is all about Dustin Poirier, F you, Dustin Poirier, nothing's been forgotten. He can do the whole Conor shtick and say, I need one before you. I'm coming off an injury. I'm going to get my feet wet over here, and then I'm going to come see you next. Why couldn't he do that? That would make sense. That would be easy. Now you don't need a spin job. Now you don't need a sell machine. And now we would have something to look forward to. I mean, to use that same logic that I just did with Conor versus Poirier, should they go out there for a fourth time, I could still apply that same argument to Max. Now, Max is not going to get this shot, but nobody should be getting this shot at Conor, and Conor should not be taking a shot at anybody else because he's a star. He doesn't have to have the belt. Red panty night is a very real thing. It was funny the night Conor said it, but it was true the night Conor said it, and it's still true today. Whoever gets on the docket with McGregor is going to have a wonderful experience that they are going to remember forever. They're going to get recognized in media and opportunities and be doing interviews and see their picture out there more than they've ever done it before. There will be a lot on the line. There is nothing for anybody who's ever, and it's only a few people, but anyone that's ever got the jump on Conor McGregor, something wonderful happens to them. Dustin Poirier got the jump on Conor McGregor. He can go fight for the world title in a match that DraftKings currently believes he's going to win. Right? I mean, nothing bad comes from it. But why are these guys like Conor and Masvidal not fighting each other? Conor and Nate Diaz is one of the great no-brainers in the sport, and we've all been confident that they were going to throw that card out there somewhere. Now time is ticking down. Why haven't they found each other? Conor and Nick Diaz is wildly interesting. These guys have got to be together. They've got to be able to see this. None of the names I just said are ever going to be champions. None of the names I just said would ever fight reasonably for a world championship. There could be you could do a little twisted over here. You see what I'm saying? They're on a different path. They're not on a different path because they're not as good of fighters. They're on a different path because they're great fighters. Or they once were great fighters. They're in a very, very special area. But why does Conor need to fight Dustin? And why, when it's so obvious that Conor wants to fight Dustin, do all of these other fighters, including the great Max Holloway, fall for the trap because something was said on Twitter? Why? Why? It's interesting. It's a tough spot. Does Conor and Dustin need to happen?